Hello YouTube and welcome to a review. Now today I'm going to be doing a review of the Logitech Orion G910. Yes, as teased on the Little Bix Games Twitter account, we was going to be doing a review and this is what it is. So, this review is going to be in a couple of sections. It's going to be in like how comfortable it is basically. The key presses, how the keys are. It's going to be the features that it's got. And it is going to be, obviously, is it worth the money? Another part. And then, obviously, a final conclusion. So, let's start off with comfortability of the keyboard. And, obviously, compatibility as well, which we will talk about later. Comfortability is very good. I actually use the large hand rest. And it's very good to use and quite comfortable. Obviously the WASD key is in a good position as well, and it doesn't like hurt your hand when you're trying to do that. Each button is very comfortable. The only downside I would say is that sometimes the spacebar can be quite it's hard to explain, like weird to press. I can't press it now because obviously I'm recording this and I pause it, but it can be weird. It's still very good, but it can be especially when you're typing quite quickly, but it doesn't really affect it. That's just really it happens. It's just I would make that clear. Thought I'd make that clear. The key presses as well, they're very good, very sturdy. If we use W for example, you can actually hear that, I think. They've got, if you don't know, I think it's got a Roma G switch, which is a homemade Logitech switch, and they are very good. You've got obviously, and we'll talk about the features in this as well, you've got your M1 to MR, which is M1, M2, M3 and MR switches, keys. You've got your G1 to G5 on the side, and then on top above your F1 to F4 you've got your G6 to G9, which is your gaming keys, which you can set. For example, if I go into my Google Chrome, I can actually open my mail from that. So and obviously if I can open different YouTube, Twitter and stuff like that for Little Bix Games. The other features on it that's pretty good is you can actually turn the lights off by just clicking a button. It's actually a settings kind of button, and you can turn the keys off. You can also put it into gaming mode, and you obviously get your pause, your play, pause and play, sorry, your stop, your rewind and fast forward. You also get a sound kind of bar, which is basically or not a bar, like a rolling thing, which is where you can turn up and down your sound, and you can actually mute or sound that comes through the speakers or headset depending on what you use. The software is pretty good, and I will actually load it up so I can tell you the exact kind of, if I get the words right, the exact colors you actually get for this specifically. You get your key press heat map, which basically you can see how many keys obviously you press pretty much per minute. I think it was 250. I got the highest. Obviously you get your key duration heat map as well. You also get in your light section, you can have a couple of different modes. You can have your lighting mode, which is your effects, which you can have a color wave, a breathing effect, a star effect, a color cycle, and a key press, which means when you could press a key it would light up. Obviously I've got mine set to color wave, and it's vertical, so it's going up and down. You can also have commands, or your command that you've got. So I've got G1 to G6 with my command set. All of those light up, and my mute settings and play kind of buttons and stuff like that light up. You can obviously set an active color and an inactive color as well. You've got your lighting modes where you can actually set specific keys obviously to what you want. So for example, if you want your 1 to 5 in one color and then your 6 to 0 or something like that in another, or you want to color code your commands and stuff like that, you could do that. You can actually set specific zones pretty much that are lit in a specific color. And you also get your freestyle, which is basically you choose the color really. So you can have just a standard color that just stays like that, and it's just standard really. It stays that specific color. Obviously I have color wave as I just said. You also obviously can set your G commands, which I've actually got, I should tell you now. On my G1 I've got my email, On G2 I've got the Bixy Games YouTube account, G3 I've got the Twitter account for Bixy Games, G4 Instagram account, G5 I've got the Pinterest, and G6 I've got the Flashback channel. So when I'm in Google Chrome or something to that effect, I can just click those buttons quickly, or what button I'm on, and it will take me to those pages. Or in the emails case, open up my email app. So you will obviously get that. You also get an ARC stock, which if you have an Android or, I will remember, iOS device, you can actually stick it in and connect it with your keyboard, and you can actually control like your system. Really, you can't like control it fully, but it will tell you like your CPU heat, your RAM, how that's doing, what's being used, your GPU heat, I think it was, and basically like your temperatures, what's running and stuff like that. I haven't actually managed to have a look at that because I've pretty much got a Windows phone. Both of my phones are. So I think it's USB 3.9. The keyboard is, I think. I could be wrong. It's quite quick and responsive as well, I've got to admit. With the different profiles you can have, it's very, very good, and it's a pretty good keyboard, really. So we can now look at pretty much, is it worth the price? Now, yeah, it is worth the price, I would say. Some people say it isn't, because, and I would, in that perspective, we'll get my words correctly, I can agree with the arm like rest. I think they should make that a bit more sturdier, because like when I actually put my keyboard away, I actually have to take the armrest off of the keyboard, and I always like be careful because I think I'm going to break the little like hinges that go into it to keep the armrest there. I haven't, and I don't, but I do always think that I think they could make it a bit more sturdy, or another like way really. However, it could just be personal preference. The other thing, the material mind of the keyboard and the keys are very good. They're very sturdy keys as well. I haven't had any problems with the keys. My original Logitech keyboard, which I think was a G910, actually I had a problem with the enter key, and this is why I upgraded to this keyboard. And I've got to admit, it was very worth it. I actually waited, I think, 2 weeks or thereabout, because it was out to I got my 119, I think so. Yeah, it's very, very good for that. Now, overall compatibility. Now, as I know, we'll find the exact page if I can get this correct. As I know of, it does say, I should tell you what it actually specifies. The actual like compatibility is for you. Now, hopefully this doesn't play video, which I don't think it is. Now, oh, there we go. Right, so as I said, it's exclusive Aroma G. It's got RGB illumination, 9 programmable buttons, media controls. It has, and this is impressive, 113 key anti-ghosting. Now, if you don't know what anti-ghosting is, it basically is, if you press, let's say there's 113 keys on the keyboard, and you press every one, that will basically stop that, pretty much, from saying, like making the wrong keys. It means that inputs will be more reliable. So if like it's hard to explain, but if you like, it won't confuse itself pretty much, and that's quite good. It won't like confuse itself thinking you've pressed that one or something to that effect. But anyway, it says on the page that it's compatible with Windows 8, Windows 8.1 and Windows 7. I can tell you it is actually compatible with Windows 10 because I'm using Windows 10. I'm using Windows 10 Home 64-bit, if you're wondering. It is obviously powered by a USB connection or port. You need an internet connection and 100 megabytes of hard drive space because you need the Logitech software, or it's optional to download, but you can get the right like colors. I mean, you don't actually have to have the software, but if you want to experience like the colors of it and stuff like that, you need the software. The package obviously contains your keyboard, your large palm rest, your small palm rest, and your user documentation. and you also get a 2-year limited hardware warranty from the manufacturer, I think it is. Now another cool thing about this is they actually do an SDK. Now, if you don't know, an SDK means a source development kit. You can actually create your own lighting effects for the keyboard. I think I've actually got it. I'm actually looking. But yeah, LED, I think illumination SDK it is, I think. And you can actually create your own like LEDs, like an RGB compatibilities. So you can actually use that for that, which I am thinking of using. It's just trying to learn it. So overall, really, how good is this keyboard, and is it worth the money? Now, I was quite skeptical at first, to be honest, but I've got to say it's very worth the money. I know it seems quite expensive, and it's very expensive, but it's so reliable and sturdy at times. Literally, I type very fast, and it's literally not giving up. It just keeps going and going and going, and it doesn't like ghost or something like that with it. It doesn't get confused, nothing. I've had different colours on it and everything, and it's worked perfectly. I've never had a problem with it. The only thing I will say, which could just be my PC, is that I get a problem sometimes where it actually flashes and the keyboard actually freezes for a minute. The computer doesn't. It could just be my PC though. And I actually have to unplug the USB and plug it back in. Sometimes it will sort itself out after a couple of minutes. But as I said, that could just be me, so don't take that as a thing not to buy it. Yeah, it's very worth money. On the Logitech site, it's actually $159.99. The keyboard is. I got mine, as I said, 119, I think it was. Talking of that keyboard thing, it's just done it now as well. What would be my final review and conclusion on it? Is it worth money? Yes. Will it last? Yes, it will. And I've always trusted Logitech, and obviously I don't know if you know this, guys, but my Logitech G910 actually lasted me, I think it was coming up for 4 years old, nearly 3 to 4 years old. It's impressive for a keyboard, and that's like using it nearly every day, and some days non-stop. So, and I type really quick, and I was pretty impressed, I would say. And my actual problem I had was one of my like latches, I think they are, or something like that keeps the keyboard up angled a bit, actually snapped, and my enter key started to stick. It did. So when it would go like right down on the left front side into the keyboard, and I would actually have to rely, as I would say, Krypton fiber to try and get it out. Is it, as I said, is it worth? Yeah. Is it a good gaming keyboard? Yes, for gaming. And this is coming from someone like with Black Ops 3. I always, with a Call of Duty game, would play, because I've never played a Call of Duty game on the PC. I would always play with a controller, any shooter game, in fact. And I actually used the keyboard for this, and I was very, very good, and it was very easy to use. Obviously, it did take a while to get used to, but you'll probably find that with any game if you start using a keyboard after using a controller. As well, like Assassin's Creed Rogue, I was very good with that, and it's very easy to use, and very responsive for gaming in total. What would I score this keyboard? I would score it a 10 out of 10, and yes, it's worth a buy. With all the features of this, I think it's 16 million colours you can choose from for the keyboard. You can even add your own, if you use SDKs, you can actually add your own type of colour patterns for specific games. The features are endless of it. You can have, like, I use my ARC stock release actually to hold my phone in sometimes, so I've actually got it there if it goes off or something like that, or I get an email, so I can actually see the phone. It's really worth it, and even the small things that affect it, it's not worth not buying it because of those. They're so small, it's unreal. And it's actually, I usually use when I actually get the problem with the USB, I actually click one of my buttons a couple of times and it sorts itself out. It's so good to use and so worth it. Overall, for features, I would give it a 10 out of 10. For compatibility, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. For what was the other? For like key sturdiness and the sturdiness, I would give it a 9.9 out of 10. As I said, the only thing I would improve would make the armrest a bit more sturdier, and obviously use a different kind of mechanism to get it off, really. However, that could just be me personal preference. Obviously, comfortability, 10 out of 10. It's really comfortable to use. Overall, is it worth it? Yes. And I would give this a 9.8 out of 10. With the small things, obviously, that happens with it, it does have its like drawbacks, but they're so small in some room. As like previously said, it's worth the buy, really. It's worth buying, and I know the price is quite expensive, but it's such a good gaming keyboard. I think I've used 3 or 4 Logitech keyboards, and not obviously on my PC, but I have previously used 3 or 4, and they've lasted forever, and they're so good for gaming, literally. Yeah, I would say this is worth getting, guys. But on that note, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to end. So, if you like this video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Subscribe if you want to see more great content. Comment and let me know for the video if there's any improvements, video quality, audio quality, any improvements like in different ways you'd like me to do a review next time. Share as much as possible. And I'm gonna say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.